Good, happy Monday. Welcome to another episode of Transformative Healing for Mental Health and Trauma. I am your host, Gina, and I am a certified neurotransformative practitioner. Thank you all for being here on this fine Monday evening. For those of you that are joining in and you might be new, I welcome you. Thank you for being here. I'll tell you a little bit about me really quick. I'm a certified neurotransformative practitioner. And basically, that's just a big old fancy name for somebody that helps neuroplasticity, which is, rewiring, reprogramming, and reconnecting neural pathways in the brain by using a non-clinical art therapy called neurosomatic art. And so we just go in, we draw. It's wonderful for individuals that don't like to talk. It's wonderful for individuals that have been in therapy, counseling, and so forth, coaching, so forth, and they just feel like they need more. They may have hit a stumbling block along the way. Things have just halted in their healing, and they just feel like they need a little bit more. And so that's what I do in a nutshell. Every Monday, I try to come live about 7:30 Eastern, and we discuss topics on mental health and trauma because I think it's really important that folks understand that you can actually heal from mental health and trauma when you have the right individuals, when you have the right healing strategies and the right healing modalities paired together. Healing and healing comes from the body. So we have to heal the physiological while we're healing the psychological, which is the mind. And so, there are a few things that are able to do that, and I do one of them. And so the neural somatic art paired with coaching is what I do, and I absolutely love it. It's been a really big game changer for me. And so anyway, week after week, I come on here, and I think I'm going to start getting some guests on here as well because it's nice to be able to spread and have guests on here because they have a lot of knowledge when it comes to trauma and mental health as well. So, over the next few weeks, we'll start having some guests on here. And so basically why I started Transformative Healing for Mental Health and Trauma is because a lot of people, again, were told you'll never heal. You can't overcome the challenges that you face with mental health and trauma. And so that becomes a limitation and a block. You get that in your mindset and you're like, I'll never heal from anything that I've endured in my life. When in fact, you can. It's the power of the tongue. And so when you speak negative is going to manifest in your life. When you start speaking healing and transformative things, you're going to start transforming and healing in your life. And so those are things that we do here. I bring truth, I bring education. I talk about healing strategies and healing modalities that come in for, trauma and mental health and things like that too. And so there are some viewers, and I'm sure, now and in the future, there are people, because of the stigma on mental health, a lot of people don't like to go get help. And I totally understand that. And so my hope is the people that see this get some sort of education to help them, why they're sitting in the shadows, and just, working on themselves before they go in and start working with an actual professional, and things like that too. So glad, each and every one of you are here. Sly, Scott, Michael, good evening to each and every one of you. I appreciate all of you for being here. And so on tonight's episode, what we're going to talk about is something that was brought to my attention, and it kind of intrigued me. And I was like, oh, I never thought about this. Sleeping with our stories, how trauma shows up at night. And so yesterday, a friend of mine posted something about sleeping positions and how sleeping positions might be saying about your trauma. What is it saying about, what is it saying about your trauma? And that's what we're talking about. We're talking about your sleep. So, what we have to realize is even in rest, our bodies remember. Remember I always said the body keeps the score. So your body always remembers. And so it kind of struck me as, oh my goodness, this is a rare topic that nobody's ever brought forth. And so I started exploring it today. I did some research and things like that. And I was like, oh, this is pretty interesting because I look at how I sleep. I look at how Sly sleeps, and so I'm hoping, that I can, bring some education and maybe help why maybe you sleep the way that you do, and where you sleep the way that where you sleep where you sleep, where you do, how you sleep, how you do, and things like that too. So here's something wild to consider. Sleep is one of the few times we aren't consciously performing safety. So think about that. Um, as trauma survivors, we are almost always scanning for threats and danger, almost always. And so think about it. When we're sleeping, we're not doing that. We're not constantly scanning because we're sleeping. We're not thinking about how to protect ourselves. We just are. So even when we're sleeping, we may not know what's going on outside as far as outside around us, but we're trying to build the safety in us by the way that we sleep. So the positions we default to at night. So and it's just interesting. It's like this could account for people that have trouble sleeping. Your sleep position, how trauma shows up at night. And I think I've shared this before, but I don't sleep very good at night. A lot of my trauma happened at nighttime. And so I associate with that. So when the sun comes up, I'm able to sleep a little bit better when I can see when, there's lighting. I always used to joke years ago, I used to say I would probably make a good third shifter because I could stay up all night and sleep all day. And so I do sleep. I just don't get enough sleep, probably because of, obviously I know it's the trauma, the CPTSD. And so there are some mornings I do go back to bed because I'm just so exhausted. And it's more mentally than it is physically. And so, I do have to go back to bed. And so the positions we default to at night, they're often shaped by our nervous system, especially if it's lived through trauma. Our bodies are brilliant at finding ways to protect us. And sometimes the way you sleep says this is just what we need to keep us safe, even if it's not what feels good anymore. So think about, as we're going through this, think about the way that you sleep. How do you sleep? So let's go through a few common sleep positions and what they might be reflecting about your trauma story, your regulation, and your needs. So think about it, as we go through this, think about how you sleep. And another thing I want you to kind of think about too is how many hours a night are you sleeping? Are you tossing and turning? Are you getting up in the middle of the night? When you wake up, exactly what's going on when you wake up and things like that too. I'm going to walk you through the 5 sleep patterns that I often see and that I haven't seen because this is something new to me. But I'm interested when I work with more clients now. I'm interested to bring this up because this is an interesting fact about how you sleep. And so, I want to walk through the 5 sleeping patterns and how it might connect to your nervous system. So the first one is the fetal position. And that's when you're curled up on your side. And so this is one of the most common, curled in, knees tucked, arms closed. It mimics the womb. So it's a space of warmth and protection. So does anybody sleep in the fetal position? If this is your default, your body might be saying, I need to feel held. I need a small, safe place. It can come from experience of emotional neglect, fear, or even complex trauma where the body learned to shrink inward as a form of protection. So does anybody sleep in that position? I do. I'm a side sleeper with my legs tucked in, kind of in a fetal position. And so I can understand exactly why that happens to me. So again, it can come from experiences or emotional neglect, fear, or even complex trauma where the body learned to shrink inward as a form of protection. So think about that. So it's pretty interesting, things like that there. So your body's protecting itself, and things like that too. And so there's other reasons that I sleep on that side. There's reasons that I cover up with the blanket when it's 90 degrees. The blanket is my protection. It's my layer of protection. You have to go through that blanket before you get to me. And so in my mind, I'm thinking, I will feel you pull the covers off of me, the blanket. And, and then it's on like Donkey Kong. So, all right. So Scott, you sleep with your side sleeper, leg straight out. All right. I think there's that one too. So, kind of, do you sleep at the edge of the bed? Where do you sleep in the bed, Scott? Do you sleep more towards the edge, in the middle? Where do you sleep? Just kind of curious. Stomach sleeping. This is when you're face down. I used to love sleeping on my stomach, but after having children, I unfortunately can no longer do that anymore. This one's powerful. Lying face down protects the front of the body, our heart, belly, and chest. Sometimes this shows up in people who felt emotionally or physically exposed. Edge always. Okay, we're going to get to that one here in a couple minutes. So, we'll see if this resonates with you. So it's for people that have felt emotionally or physically exposed. It can signal a need for control or a quiet hypervigilant, even in sleep. It's like your body says, no one can get to me here. So it's kind of like you're tucked in, nobody can get to you, and things like that too. So, are you a stomach sleeper? So I know Sly can sleep on his, I was going to say on his belly at times. He's a side sleeper as well. Back sleeping. Does anybody sleep on your back? Arms at side or chest? Back sleepers are often seem relaxed, but there are two possibilities here. One, it might reflect openness, a deep trust in environment. And number two, it can also come from dissociation. And so dissociation is different from you dissociating, dissociating when you're kind of driving, you're kind of zoning out when you're driving somewhere. That's not the dissociating I'm talking about, the zoning out. The dissociation that I'm referring to here is when you are emotionally numb, when your body's numb, when you're talking about things and you have these outer body experiences, you are not there. When you're driving and you're not present in the moment is what it is. Like you just feel like you have these outer body experiences. So that's the dissociation that I'm referring to here. And so number two is lying still, flat, unmoving. It's the freeze response at rest. If you feel checked out or emotionally distant during the day, this position might mirror that. And so again, think about it. Where are you at in fight, flight, fawn, and freeze? Where are you at in any of those? Because that says a lot about your sleeping positions as well. That's another thing. Another thing that I think next week I want to talk about because it has to do with, anxious and fight and flee and fawn and all of those. And I want to work on the attachment styles, anxious attachment and all of those too. So, and kind of see. Because they do go hand in hand. I mean, when you have an anxious attachment and you have avoidant and all that stuff, it shows up in relationships and things like that. And so another thing that I think would be something for us to kind of go down that road and see. So Scott said, side sleeper, leg straight out, edge always. Michael said, I used to be a stomach sleeper, feels very uncomfortable now, mostly side sleeper, right side, left side, repeat. So you kind of toss and turn throughout the night then. So let me ask you this. Do you sleep closest to the door? Do you sleep closest to a window? Just curious. All right, edge of bed sleeping. So this kind of will go with the side sleeper. it's probably not, if you're a side sleeper, it's probably not as in depth as this. But nonetheless, if you're a side sleeper and, I don't think it could be pertaining to you, but I think this is more of the edge of the bed sleeping where you are like hanging off the bed, ready to like jump up and get out. So, all right. So pretty much, but do you sleep on the same side? Okay. So pretty much, so Scott said neither. So where's the door to your room? So do you sleep, so Scott, do you sleep away from your door? I guess, I mean, I don't know how your room is set up or anything like that. I'm just trying to, and then Michael said pretty much in the middle of the room. Here's why I'm asking. Most trauma survivors will sleep either by a window or a door. Because if something happens, they want to make sure that they can get out as quickly as they can. Now, if you have a significant other and you're married, usually the husband will sleep by the door, and then and then the wife obviously on the other side. So it's just the man is protecting the woman, but sometimes there's a trauma response in there, for men and women, depending on where you're sleeping and things like that too. So just take that into consideration as well. Edge of bed sleeping at the very edge, almost falling off. And there's times here lately, it's interesting because, how can you not fall off? How can you not fall off the bed? Okay, so you sleep in the living room. Okay, well, that makes sense then. Okay. So there's no door upstairs. Okay, so that makes sense. Why you could always put a curtain up there. Put a door. I don't know. And things like that. So so I noticed I woke up a couple times in the middle of the night and I was clearly on the edge of the bed. And I was like, oh my goodness, like if I wouldn't have woke up, chances are I probably could have rolled over and like fell off the bed. But I'm like, holy mackerel. I never sleep on the edge, but it was just interesting that that's where I woke up, a couple times and things like that. So it speaks to our nervous system that's never quite resting. So that means that your nervous system is always in a hypervigilant, dysregulated state. You're constantly in a fight or flight mode, constantly scanning for threats and danger. And so your nervous system is in overdrive. This often shows up in folks with deep fight or flight imprints. Your body is positioning itself for escape, even in sleep. It also may reflect past experiences of needing to be out of the way, especially in chaotic or unsafe homes. And so, yeah, it's kind of like, oh my goodness, you're reading these and you're going, wow, like these really resonate. It's like, holy macaroni, and things like that too. So, and so this is me here, clutching a pillow or a blanket. I always have to have a blanket. And so this one gets me every time. If you cling to something, a pillow, a stuffed animal, the cover is tightly wrapped, it's often a way your body self-soothes. And so this is something that I'm learning. I did not realize this, but it does make sense. When you're wrapped in something, it's like being hugged. When you're it's kind of like being swaddled. And and things like that. So Sly said, my perfect place to sleep is holding you to help you relax and keep you from jumping and perking in bed, but I get too hot jerking in bed. Oh yeah, sorry. I was like, perking in bed. What is that? Jerking in bed. Sorry. But I get too hot. Yeah, I know. You're like an oven. And things like that too. So, but this one here was just, when I read this, I was like, oh wow, like this is an eye opener, and things like that too, because I love my blanket. I don't have just a regular blanket. I have a minky blanket, and it's it's not heavy, but it's not a weighted blanket. But if you've ever I don't know if you've ever felt mink before, like these minky, the minky material, but it does have some weight to it, especially when it comes to the blankets. And so I wrap myself in it. And then I use a pillow because I have a bad lower back. So I use a pillow between my legs to kind of help. And I've been using it now for quite a while, that when I don't sleep with it, it feels foreign to me. I'm like, yeah, I definitely need to get that pillow between my legs. And so this really resonates with me because I'm one of the ones that I wrap myself. I make sure that the blanket is tucked in my back, and that my back's not showing, clear up to my shoulders, sometimes, clear up to here. And I make sure that it's wrapped and tucked in, in the front as well. And so it probably is a form of self-soothing, but it's another form of protection for me. And so it mimics being held or holding something dear. And so for me, it's a protection thing, so which I love. And so when I'm feeling anxious, there are times I will go in bed and cover up. And so this actually really, really makes sense. And so this can be especially common in those healing from abandonment, loss, or unmet attachment needs. And so this really resonates with me because I do have an abandonment wound. And so, here comes up the attachment needs. And so abandonment goes to I believe it's the anxious attachment wound. And so I do want to do, some exploring, some education around the attachment, the attachment styles, because it may open up another door of healing, and, just bring some education forth as far as those, and then dealing with, sleep and stuff like that too. Yeah, it does. Sly said we sleep under separate blankets. These blankets are nice though. And it does stink. Like we don't get to sleep under the same blanket. Our blankets are nice. I do miss sleeping under, but what ended up happening is one would roll over and steal the covers. Usually it was me. And then, and then Sly would get cold and vice versa. And I was just like, I'm done. Or I'd just be asleep and all of a sudden he'd roll over and I could feel the blanket just like coming off me. And again, what does that bring up to me? It brings up danger, danger, danger. And so I thought, you know what, I'm just going to get my own blanket and then I can sleep and I don't have to worry about it. Although there are some times that I grab his blanket and then he grabs mine, but nonetheless, I usually grab his first before he grabs mine in the middle of the night. So I'm grabbing his, he's grabbing mine. It is what it is. But that was one of the reasons that that I started using my own and things like that too. So, and they're not, but they surely are nice. If we could find one in a king size, I'd probably buy it, but it would probably be about $600-700, and I'm not investing that amount of money into a blanket. There's no way. I would take the ones that we have. We have 3 of them, and I would just sew them together. We have 3 of them. We could sew them together, and then we could have a nice blanket. But nonetheless, there you go. So does any of these resonate with any of you? Are you sitting there wondering, wow, this may seem like me. This sounds like me. Anything else that you want me to go back over in the things that we're doing, or what we're talking about? Yeah, it's funny. So Sly says, yeah, you pull it off me. And then he laughed. I have woke up and taken my blanket off you, and you would have yours on you too. Yep. See? So I'm telling you, see, double protection. You can never go wrong with double protection. See? I got to protect myself. You just, that's my trauma response. And I know that. And chances are, I know it's the power of the tongue, but it's the body. The body remembers, the body keeps the score. And so right now that's something that's keeping me safe. That's, keeping me, you know, kind of bundled in and tucked in like a baby, and it keeps me safe. And so, that's fine. I mean, if I had 4 blankets, they'd probably be on me too, and things like that too. So, so think about it. So now what? When we become aware of how we sleep, we don't rush to change it. We meet it with compassion. That is the huge thing. That's what it is. It's not about, we are leaning towards healing the body. That's where it is. but it's curiosity over control, compassion over correction. So if you notice something in your sleep position, just ask your body, what are you trying to protect me from? Your body will pretty much tell you what it's protecting you from. And then what you could say is, thank you for keeping me safe. So that's the first step to regulation. But one of the first things is being aware. Being aware of your sleep position. Being aware of why you sleep that way. What's coming up when you hear the 5 different positions of sleep? What's coming up for you? Or do you have any thoughts coming up? Does it resonate with any of you? And then, looking at it that, giving yourself compassion and saying, okay, I'm healing. I'm on this journey. And be grateful that you have a body that's willing to protect itself. But understanding that your body is so powerful that when you say to it, what are you protecting me from? It will let you know what it's protecting you from. Your inner critic will tell you what it's protecting you from. One way or another, you will find out where the protection is. And so again, it's a lot of it will be in how you sleep, how you're sleeping. And so, but it's just interesting, with the what resonates with me being the fetal position, and then the clutching of the pillow or the blanket. So those are the 2 that resonate with me. That's me. That's me entirely. And so again, it goes from awareness, and then identifying exactly what's going on. What is your body protecting you from? And then regulation. It's learning to regulate your nervous system, because that is what drives the emotions, is a dysregulated nervous system. And then, of course, dysregulated emotions. And so the goal here is to start learning how to regulate your emotions, learning how to regulate when your nervous system goes haywire, and learning that it's okay, that there's nothing wrong with you. It's the emotions, it's the trapped emotions in our body. And it's that come up as the trauma. And a dysregulated nervous system will do that too. And so when you're always living in a hypervigilant state and you're not using the tools or resources that you are given, chances are what's going to happen is you're never going to get out of fight or flight until you start recognizing things. When you start recognizing things and you're more aware of what's going on, and when you become, when you sense the dysregulation, you're able to shift it. You're able to counteract on it and shut it down immediately. And so, kind of helping you out there. So, regulating and, and continuing. So I asked this in the beginning. So what sleep position resonates with you? Is there anything else within, that you want me to go back over and the sleep positions? Do you have questions as far as how to help feel more safe when you're sleeping? Because, the biggest thing is sleep. When you don't get sleep, you end up cranky, just like a child. Yep. And Scott, see? Exactly. And that's me. And Sly can attest to that as well. It can be 90 degrees and I'm covering up with a blanket. I'll cover up with a blanket and keep one of my feet out. But nonetheless, I always have something on, always. And it's usually a blanket and things like that too. So, but, and it's the same thing. Like, I don't mind sheets. I don't use sheets on my bed though. I just have blankets. So I don't know. It's just a safety thing. So I totally understand where you're coming from as far as that there. So, and so, Yeah. So does anybody have questions? Because this was interesting when this was brought up. I thought, oh my goodness, I want to kind of look into this a little bit more, because I think it's interesting to see how our sleep patterns play a role in our trauma response, or our trauma response plays a role. Maybe I said that backwards. Our trauma response plays a role in our sleep patterns. And so the way that we sleep. So if you don't pay attention to how you sleep, maybe you can start being aware of how you sleep, and things like that too, and really pay attention to how you're sleeping and things like that too. Do you need a blanket? Do you need a pillow? How are you covering up? Are you covering up tightly? How are you covering up? How are you sleeping? And things like that too. So, just take that into consideration and things like that too. Yeah, the top sheet is annoying. And then it's one of those things like, oh my goodness, now I have to make my bed. So if I just use these 2 blankets, then I'm like, oh, I'm fine. Now I make my bed, but now I'm like, I don't have to go all out and make my bed. I just put my blankets on, make them look nice, and see you later. Things like that too. So yeah. So what are your goals for the week? I know, every week I try to come on and get each and every one of you to set a goal for the week for yourself, something that you can do in self-care. Self-care is so important. It's so critical as we go on this recovery journey and things like that. And self-care is so important, so important. And it's one of those things that we don't stop and think about us. We think about everybody else, but we don't think about us. And self-care isn't to be selfish. It's about putting yourself first, or putting your need first. It's saying, okay, I'm important and I love myself enough that I want to go do this. Now, let me just tell you this. This does not mean that you're going to go and buy $50 worth of fishing stuff. No, that's not what it is. This means something that you normally don't do for yourself, which means go for a walk. Go get your favorite coffee or your favorite drink, and just go sit out in nature for a little while. Go get a massage, go get a facial, things that you normally wouldn't do. Go buy yourself something small to appreciate yourself. Something to show your appreciation to yourself, because we're the only ones that have our backs. And so it's all about us. And a lot of times I think we kind of forget about that, because we are the ones that put everybody first. And so it's not being selfish. Again, it's not being selfish, just saying, you know what? Hey, you know what? I haven't had a McDonald's sweet tea in a long time. I'm going to go buy myself a sweet tea. Like yesterday after church, my daughter said, both of my daughters were like, I'm hungry. And I said, all right, well, I'll take you to McDonald's, but I don't want McDonald's. I want Skyline chili. And I have not had Skyline in a very long time. And I don't like to treat myself a whole lot, because, everything is very expensive. But I did. I took myself out and I just said, you know what? I'm going to buy Skyline. And so I did. And so, fishing is a good thing. But what I want you to understand is you can't fish all the time. Well, when the weather gets nicer, you probably can, yes. So what I want you to try to do is start thinking of other things that you can do for self-care. That's the main thing. You can go fishing. Absolutely. That is a form of self-care. But it's opening up more avenues, more strategies for you to use to help with your self-care. Go to if you live near one of the national parks, go to a national park and walk the trail. Go sit at one of the national parks and just sit and just listen. You're building mindfulness. You're just listening to the birds. You're listening to the trees cracking. You're listening to the crickets cricketing, and the frogs frogging, and and things like that. That's what I'm trying to get you to do. Fishing, absolutely fishing, but I'm trying to help you create more tools in your toolbox. So when you can't fish, what else are you doing? So if you can't fish, are you just sitting on the couch, or what exactly are you doing? So that's what I'm trying to get you to help you understand, is that we're trying to build your toolbox and give you more tools and resources to help you with who you are, like your self-care. What are you doing for yourself? In the midst of, when you can't fish. So you're going to be able to fish, but then when winter rolls around again, what are you going to do in the winter? So, yep. And so walking in my garden, I love that. And just being outside. So for me, I love being outside. And, we were spoiled last week, I think it was, when we had like 70, 80-degree weather. And now the weather hasn't been the greatest. It's been pretty lousy. And so I haven't been able to get outside. And, I haven't really been able to get out and do anything. And so I know it's still early and things like that. And so, pretty soon the weather's going to be hot, and then we're all going to be complaining it's hot. But, like last night, my 13-year-old son and I, we walked probably about a good mile and a half. He wanted to play football, and because of my eye, it's hard to see. And so I couldn't play football with him because of the way that the lighting, it was starting to get a little dark in the lighting and things like that too. And so I said, you know what? I sat on the couch and I was like, let's just go for a walk. So him and I walked. We walked about a mile and a half, and it was nice. It was just him and I. We walked around, and came back home, and it was just nice. It was just, like I said, it was him and I. And so it was just nice to have that alone time with him as well, and just to be able to get out. And so those are the types of things that I'm talking about. It's things that you don't need money for. Even if you go sit in your backyard and you're sitting in your chair and just sitting there, that's self-care. If you're sitting there and you're letting the sun hit you, whatever you're doing, that's self-care. If you're sitting there and you got your shoes off and you're allowing the ions from the ground and the energy from the ground to absorb into your body, absolutely go for it. If you're sitting, in nature, if you're hiking, doing whatever, absolutely. But what I want you to do, again, is to build your toolbox around fishing, because I know you guys are all fishing fanatics. I get that. But what I want you to do is to build your toolbox around other things that you can do when you're not fishing, and things like that too. So, because I believe that, when you start putting yourself first, you'll start seeing a change in yourself as well. And it's huge. It really is huge. And so I can't wait for my garden to be, to get planted and things like that too. It's kind of wet here, so I really can't do much with that or anything like that. So, but I do like, I don't have a green thumb in the house, but I'll tell you what, outside, I love gardening outside. I love getting my hands dirty. I love just getting dirty. I think it goes back to my younger years, probably a little bit of that inner child. But I absolutely love, again, I love being outside. I love nature. I love being outside. I love gardening. I love, being able to walk and things like that as well. So, and so, because I want you to, to kind of think about things. What are you doing for your self-care and stuff like that too? And so, again, it goes back to appreciation of yourself, loving yourself enough to say, you know what? I've had enough, but I want to do something for myself. I do everything for everybody else, and now I want to do something for myself. Something, it doesn't have to be anything extravagant and things like that too. So, yeah. So I'm really hoping that the weather over the next week or two, the weather will start warming up, and all you fishing fanatics can get out there and really start fishing and things like that too. And then when Sly's at work and the kids are still at school and I'm not subbing no more, I'm going to teach myself how to fish. I got to figure out where I can fish at. The canal kind of stinks, but I'm going to figure out where I can go fishing at. 40 acre, I'd go there, but they have snakes and they scare me. I don't want one to be falling out of the tree and land on me, and then I'd have a heart attack and probably fall in the water. I shouldn't say that because that probably will happen, but no, I'm not claiming that. No weapons formed against me shall prosper in the mighty name of Jesus. Amen. But I would like to figure out where I can go and start fishing because, the running joke is that I'd like to beat Sly. We'll see though. No, we'll see. My only downfall is I don't know how to take a hook out, but I know I'll learn. I got to I got to kind of tease them and things like that and kind of laugh. But I would like to start doing a little bit of that as well and kind of see. And yeah, I could probably go over there too, but I don't know. We'll see. See what happens anyway. Because I like getting out. I think it would be pretty cool. Like I said, last year, I didn't have but one on the board. I got frustrated. And then, of course, the one that was caught was the one that Sly ended up helping me catch. And so that's different. Like I want to be able to catch it myself and start understanding the sport more and things. I mean, I have my box of goodies that Gramps from Fishing with Gramps that, he sent me and things like that. So, and a lot of the baits that Jeremy made. And so I'm going to start using them as well and seeing if they'll bring me some luck and things like that too. And now that my mindset's a little bit different as far as, catching and what fishing really is. It is a form of self-care and just the peace and serenity that it brings. And yes, it's about competition, but it's not at the end of the day. It's about bringing you peace and relaxation and things like that too. So absolutely. So let's see. So for, what did you order, Scott? So Scott says, I just ordered goodies. What did you order? So I'm trying to see. So Sly said, his goal for the week is to get the yard mowed. And Michael said, yeah, that's his too. Scott, do you have a goal? I don't know. I don't think I've seen yours yet. I don't know. You may have said something. Do you have a goal for the week that you would like? So and see, that goes back to, oh boy, ordered more baits. Did you order them when you were dysregulated or when you were regulated? I always, that's just a running joke because every time, yep, see, I'm gonna have to get your phone number. I'm calling you every day and I'm gonna ask you. I'm gonna ride your behind, and be like, oh, you impulse shopping today? What did you buy today, Scott? No, no, I totally understand. I just have to joke with you. So I've been there. I know what it's like to be in a funk, to be at a place that you, yeah. It's all right. To kind of be at a place that we do things on impulse when our nervous systems are dysregulated. Not to sound like a repeat, but we do that because of the euphoric feeling that it gives us. It gives us that euphoric happy feeling for a few minutes. But then it's like, oh, I shouldn't have bought that. And so, I mean, I've shared my testimony and that and stuff there, but nonetheless, I'm not going to continue to preach and things like that. But coming from a friend, perspective and things like that too, that it does happen. It happens quite frequently when we are in a fight or flight mode and we are in a dysregulated state of mind. When our nervous systems are dysregulated. So. Things like that too. So yes, we do. So we have to get a so the state license covers that. So it's not a separate permit. We're allowed to fish any public waters, I think, is what it is. And it's included. in this one reservoir, you can actually bring up your kayak. But it's like a steep hill. I'm like, man, they want you to be out of breath by the time you carry it up this tall mountain just to get it in the water. You'll be like, I'm out of breath. I don't feel like even getting in the water now. It's like, holy mackerel. You got to have to sit there for 30 minutes just to be able to catch your breath. It's like, geez, Pete. But yeah, so I mean, it's a really nice reservoir. It is really nice. So Cairo, when she came up and we met her and Jay, that's where one of what Sly's talking about. That's the reservoir that we went to, and it was hot. Oh man, was it hot? Holy macaroni, it was hot. So I do. I mean, it's yeah. See, whew, I knew. Yeah, I know. It's like that's why I said it's like going up to the mountain. You go up the mountaintop, and then you're like, oh yeah, look at the gold, and then you got the water. But it's like, oh yeah, it's kind of crazy that steep hill that you have to drag it up and things like that. It would be nice if they would have some sort of ramp that you could just drive up, leave it, take it off and then drive down and park and then go back up. But it is really steep and things like that. So does anybody have any questions? Any questions, comments, anything else you want me to go over? Anything like that. And I appreciate each and every one of you hanging out with me. Can you sleigh ride back down? That would be pretty cool. I don't know. Would it get ruined if it hit the rocks in the parking lot? That would be my only concern. You'd go down, sleigh ride, and you'd end up in the parking lot, and then you'd have all kinds of. It would be. I think the bottom of your kayak would probably be tore up. I don't know. You might end up getting a hole in it. That would be fast. You better hope like heck. I mean, you might go fast enough that you end up halfway up the other reservoir on the other side, but I guess that would be a pretty good ride as long as there was nobody else in the parking lot parked, anything like that. So yeah, no, that is funny though. Yeah, you would. I mean, all those big rocks and stuff in the driveway or in the parking lot, I should say, parking lot driveway, definitely would tear up the bottom of it and things like that. It's not worth it. Although it would be pretty fun though. And things like that. So, so how is everybody else doing, or not everybody else, but how's everyone doing otherwise for the week? Everybody doing pretty good? So, kayak guards to the rescue. Yep, you got it. And stuff. So how's everyone else doing? Everyone doing, or besides, how's your week going? How was last week? How was leading up to this Monday from last week? Everybody doing good? Good. Yeah, I'm doing good as well. So my subbing is almost finished for the year. The kids get out of school. They get out on the 30th. And so a couple of the schools I've been subbing for, they get out on the 23rd. And so it's really not a whole lot of subbing jobs right now with our work schedules. They kind of clash right now. And so I'm really hoping to get my neurosomatic art really going and things like that too. And so that's really where my heart is really in that there. So yeah. Well, if we don't have any questions or anything like that, anything, I don't want to continue to keep you and just kind of fill in things and stuff like that too, and stuff. So again, I appreciate each and every one of you for being here. I hope this conversation brought you clarity, and maybe even covered that way. The way we sleep is never random; it's a reflection. So remember that. And then I do want to go back over and say curiosity over control, compassion over correction. So I don't want you to, I don't want you to feel like you have to correct this. So when you go to bed tonight, I don't want you to feel like, oh my goodness, like for me, I'm not going to say, oh, I'm not going to use my blanket. And, and things like that, and stuff. It's about giving yourself compassion and saying, okay, I understand why you're using the things that you're using, and maybe slowly, as you're working on your nervous system regulation, you can slowly start adapting to change and changing the way that you sleep, and things like that too. And, you never know. You might find yourself, being at the edge of the bed, and then before you know it, you're in the middle of the bed. And so that's comes at a place of safety when you start getting safe. Um, Instead of wrapping yourself tightly in a blanket, you may find that, you may not need the blanket anymore, so much, or when you first fall asleep, da 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 da, and things like that too. So, and sometimes it's where our healing begins, absolutely. And so that's another reflection point to really look at. That's where our healing begins. It's all about compassion over correction, and looking at it and saying, okay, what is it? What is it telling me? My position that I'm sleeping in, what is it telling me? And maybe that's something that you need to work on, whether you're with a coach, a counselor, a therapist, whatever you're doing. That might be something that resonates that you can, definitely work on and overcome. Absolutely. So if this episode resonated with you, would you take a moment to share it? And I always forget about that. I always forget to say, I'm sure all of you hit the like button, and I'm sure most of you share it out and things like that. But I'm trying to get this YouTube algorithm thing going, and eventually I'll get there. I know I need to post more videos and things like that, and I'm really trying and things like that. But that little bit of perfectionist is still there, and so I try to make sure that my videos are kind of perfect, and I hate that. So I'm trying to I want to say down, but what's the word? Dwindle down. That's not the word either. Like down the perfection. So it's all about being effective. It doesn't have to be perfect to get the point across, and that's what I'm learning. And so, and then the video, I use CapCut, and so I always have issues when I use it on my computer. But I like the computer because I can see things versus a lot of my phone. So, nonetheless, but I really feel like this channel could grow and stuff. So if you get the opportunity, if you would share the video for me, I would really, really appreciate it. And hopefully, we can get out there and people start commenting and things like that. And so until next time, what I'd like to say is be gentle, be curious, and may your sleep become a may your sleep become a place of deep safety. Remember that. You want your sleep to be safety. And so if any of these things resonates again with you, just make sure that you go back and look at what resonates with you, and slowly start to figure out what's going on with you, and ask your nervous system again. And so it's curiosity over control and compassion over correction. So be gentle, be curious. And until next time, next Monday, I hope all of you have a wonderful week. Be blessed. I hope that the sun will shine. We'll have amazing weather. So each and every one of you can get out and go fishing and hit some big ones and catch some big ones. And I just hope that I beat each and every one of you. No, I'm just being snarky. But nonetheless, I do wish each and every one of you the best of luck, and hopefully the weather will change and all of us can get out and enjoy some sunshine, enjoy some fishing, just enjoy being out in nature, and everything else. So I will see you all probably here pretty soon again on another live. So have a good week, be blessed, and I will see you soon, everyone. Have a good night. Bye-bye.